Thank you for joining Kyle Wagner and I, Michael Iannini, on the 4 problems that we face when we're trying to facilitate effective PD using Microsoft Teams. I'm a Council of International Schools affiliated consultant, as well as the contracted PD coordinator for the Association of China and Mongolia International Schools Association, and its 75 member schools. Kyle, can you give us a little intro to yourself?
Sure, my name is Kyle Wagner. I'm the lead consultant, founder, and PBL coach, Transform Educational Consulting. We basically work with schools to help school leaders create 21st century global social emotional learners. And we do a lot of PD with local schools as well as global schools, and very excited to move into this online space.
Kyle, one of my most favorite people to co-facilitate with, and without question, you and I have been like essential to each other in the last 3 to 6 months as we move all of our programs online. You know, for you, why Teams?
Yeah, I think it's simple for me with Teams. I think Teams allows for the most asynchronous type of learning together. So rather than having things spread out everywhere, where you might have a Padlet here, you might have a Zoom link here, you might be doing something on a wiki somewhere else, you have everything consolidated with the team. So I really like that it keeps everything consolidated and having people feel like they're moving towards a path together.
Why this move for us is because we have very comprehensive scaffolded programs that can last over a year. And so we need to archive the learning. And one of the things that became very apparent to me over the last 6 months is as people started getting more proficient using online collaboration tools, I thought this would be a great opportunity to have everything in one. And Teams is the only one that we found to where you can really have that video synchronous component with the asynchronous aspects and be able to still be able to collaborate synchronously online in documents and other types of activities and apps that you can download into Microsoft, which has been incredibly cool. But here's the caveat. As you go through this video and you see the 4 problems for us, my thing is this: I will only do Teams as a fully comprehensive platform for maybe up to 12 people. So for me, up to 12 people, I will use Teams 100%. I will upload apps and do everything within Teams. Beyond 12 people, as you'll see in the problems that we are going to be introducing to you, I will start using Zoom. If I go to 24 people, I might start adding things like Mentimeter or Padlet or Mural, just because, as you'll see, there are lags in Microsoft, and plus there's so many other problems as a facilitator you just can't control. And the reason we're doing this is because we want people to learn, and not about the technology, but about our content. So with that said, let's get into the first problem. Getting people into the team. Now, it seems like it should be pretty simple, because you're going to go through your management window. Here you have manage team. You can add members. When we add them appropriately, what they're going to get is they're going to get this invitation. They'll click on that link and they'll go through the process. But that doesn't always happen. No matter how easy you try to make it for them, no matter how clear you are with your instructions, there's always going to be a handful of people that either they didn't get the email, or 2, they just try to join at the last minute and then they struggle to go through the process. So knowing this, I also try to create another way for them to get in, which is through a meeting invite. Now, with Microsoft Teams, it's not very easy to create that link, because what we've done is first we need to create the meeting. We get the time and everything right, but the only way you can get a link to your meeting to invite in outside people is you have to actually have an attendee. So once we've identified the attendee and typed them in, then the meeting link is created. And then all you have to do is basically copy that link and you can email it to them directly. Plan B for me, or actually Plan C, is I also provide my WhatsApp and WeChat account to everybody just in case I need to send that link to them. And I'll also probably even include it in other emails if they have any problems. Now, what they'll do is they'll get this email. And this email, as you can see, it's from the actual team name in the account with my domain. So, you have to prepare them for emails from this email address as well. Make sure that they've put it in their address book. Now they'll get this link, and assuming that they didn't join through Teams and they're trying to get in at the last minute and they're going through all this, they're going to come through this process one thing that we have to understand here is that if somebody's coming in through this meeting link, is they have to be put into a lobby. This is our first clue that something went wrong. So of course we're going to invite Mike in, but know this, if they're coming in through the lobby, they didn't log in through their Teams account. Is now that they've come in through the meeting, that this is all they have. You'll notice that here in my console for the app, I have all these icons. I can access the team and everything. But if you're coming in through the link and you're joining on a browser, this is all you have. Hey Mike. Hey Mike. That's all we got. So be prepared for the fact of people coming in through that waiting room, they don't have access to any of the collaboration tools. And in fact, they're going to have other limited functionality as well. So what happens is while you're trying to facilitate your workshop, you're also going to have to try to facilitate this person to go properly into the team, register so that they can join the team if you're going to be doing any collaborative activities.
So I might have just introduced a process. In this case, it's doing some planning work. And I tell Michael and Aaron, I say, go meet in Group A because they're both Group A members. So they're going to go into Group A and we're going to do some small process work related to the bigger question that we had in the general meeting. So Michael and Aaron are going to hop off of this call and they're going to go meet in their smaller breakout group, which is going to be Group A. And once I click on Teams, I go to Group A. Now, notice I told them to go to Group A, but I didn't designate who is going to start the meeting. So now I see 2 meetings are happening in Group A. So this is a problem you might encounter. So I'm going to join one and let's see who's in that meeting. And lo and behold, it is Michael now in this meeting, but there's no Aaron. Hey, Michael, when you join the meeting or you do the breakout room, we're going to have to appoint a leader so that we only have one video chat going on. So let's go back to the general room. So I might tell Michael now, hey, let's go back to the general room so we can clarify those instructions again, get everyone back together, which is sometimes what you might have to do as a facilitator. So now Mike's going to hang up on this one. He's going to go into now the general meeting, and we're going to meet him hopefully back there. So I'm going to hang up on that call. Now notice I have a new host of problems. I've now not told them who is going to start this general meeting. So now as you see here, I've got a few meetings going on. So I have a meeting that started, and it looks like, okay, Michael and Aaron. Hopefully I click there, back in the general meeting, I'm going to see these participants and the rest of the participants and clarify the instruction. So I go to join, and I'm going to click join now. And hopefully we're going to see them both there. Okay, wonderful. So now you have your participants all back in the same room. So you saw a little bit of the problems that multiple participants can start your video chats. And that's a feature that's nice because you want your participants to be able to start video chats and start their own conversations. But you want to clarify who's going to lead that discussion in the small groups and what they're going to title that video chat, so then everyone in that group knows to go to that correct video chat. And that will solve your problem of splitting up your group.
Problem 3, why is everything so slow? All right, I got my participants, we're a small team, and this is really just to demonstrate the problem of what it's like to do synchronous work together, like collaborating, and what you have to be prepared for as a facilitator. So, I'm always gonna facilitate my meetings in such a way that I'm gonna really repeat instructions and make them as clear as possible. So guys, what I'm gonna do, I don't want you going there yet, I just want to explain to you how we're gonna do it, sharing my screen with you, see how I go to Teams. All right, now we're in our general chat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the group workbook, so we all click on that group workbook. Now we're in the group workbook, and what I want to demonstrate for you guys is to make sure we get on the right page. You're going to go to cohort 1 workbook, and we're going to do the first activity, the elephant in the room. Now to do this activity, elephant in the room, what I want each of you to do is choose a line, and I want you to write 3 things that really irritates you about online learning. What we're going to do next is we're going to turn those negative experiences and we're going to make some positive norms about them for how we're going to behave within our online sessions. So Aaron and Kyle, please populate it. I'm just going to start writing in mine. Guys, feel free to start whenever you want. I'm typing my stuff in. Can you see it?
No.
Are you guys typing?
Yeah.
Man, what's going on here? So, in a nutshell, this is the problem that we have by doing synchronous work and demonstrating this with you. There's only 3 of us. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to have this problem because we're doing this out of Hong Kong, and we're trying to leverage the fact that we might be connecting through the China server for where a lot of our schools are doing the work and using Microsoft Teams. But our accounts were created in the US. So there are things about this in terms of bandwidth and speed that are just going to be unknown. And even though we've tried to work with Microsoft support, there are very few answers to this. So as a facilitator, my recommendation for you is going to be quite simple. Whenever you're doing collaborative documents, and I love using OneNote as a workbook, it's great. Make it asynchronous work.
One of the frustrations you might have experienced with Teams is that when you're sharing a PowerPoint presentation, it's very hard for you to share that presentation, but also monitor the chat. So here I'm monitoring my Teams chat, but at the same time I'm delivering a PowerPoint presentation. This is what my participants see, and on the smaller screen, this is what I see. So the way to manage everything is to have 2 different screens, one for the chat and one for your presentation. So what I just showed you is how I was managing my Teams chat, but I was also given a presentation. So how I did that is I go here to System Preferences on my Mac. On a PC, it might be in a different place. Into my System Preferences, I then go to Displays. Now, what I'm going to click here is Arrangement and go to Mirror Displays. I want to make sure that's off so that I can have a screen side by side, my small computer screen and my bigger screen. So when I click that, notice what's going to happen is now I have just this here, okay? But then what I'm going to want to do is go to my PowerPoint, okay? And I can now drag that. As you see, what I'm doing is I'm dragging that into my big screen. And on my other screen, I have my Teams chat, okay? Now, what I want to do with that is go Slideshow, Setup, Show. And I want to make sure that it's browsed by individual window. So I've hit OK. Then when I go to my presentation, notice how voila, it doesn't take up my whole screen. So let's say you want to do something else here that's behind, because sometimes you want participants to go to a website and you want to show that. Just have that behind your window in Teams. Okay, and now I can go through my presentation, but then also monitor things in my Teams chat. So hope you enjoyed that and overcame that challenge.
All right, so Mike and I hope by sharing those problems and some of those solutions with you that you feel more confident with Teams. Mike introduced that very first problem about people tuning in with the meeting link into Teams. I've had that same frustration in people not being able to join my Teams because either they're in the wrong Teams or they're in the browser window, or even sometimes the worst where they tune into the wrong channel when it starts the meeting. So that's some of the frustrations I've experienced, and being able to solve that by just making sure that they're in the right Teams and letting them know which channel.
And when Kyle introduced to us problem 2, for me also there's this problem about like my facilitative time. I want them really focusing on the content, not on the system. So when you're having to move people from the general channel into the team channels, like those smaller groups, you're constantly having to remind people, hey, hit join, don't hit meet. And make sure to hang up on this one before you go into the next one, because you don't want to keep too many calls open. And that's really frustrating for me because I feel like I'm constantly facilitating the platform and not the content.
Yeah, which I think works into what you mentioned into problem number 3 in why Teams sometimes is very slow and there's so much lag. And you mentioned if you're going to have anyone over 12 or 14, you're going to maybe use Zoom. So a way to kind of bypass that, because I did have a very large meeting with Teams. I had about 40 people in this meeting and it was lagging. So a way that I overcame that is to make sure that when you're going from your general meetings to your smaller channel or your smaller teams, you've designated people that are in charge of each of those channels. They know who they are. And the more you kind of repeat that, the more they're equipped, they're supporting you. So you're not just this tech person like Wizard of Oz behind the scenes trying to do everything at once.
Yeah, and lastly, hey, as a professional facilitator, there are so many value adds that we bring into a workshop. I love it when I go into another facilitator's room and they got the Spotify going and you see that they got like a stop clock that's very visible and big for when they're doing time on task activities. There's all these things we bring. You know, we get very visible with our flip charts or our whiteboards, and we have these things all over the room. You have to find a way to recreate that in a virtual environment and make it just as engaging for people. Because let's be honest, they're stuck in this remote mode, watching videos and having to do video learning. And they're missing that sort of interactive element. And you can recreate that. You can recreate the music and all that. You just have to be more organized with your devices and make sure those devices are, you know, effectively and efficiently connected. You've tested them. And you'll be surprised about how well you can recreate a awesome virtual workshop room using Teams. And again, for me, remember, I love it with smaller teams. When I get into bigger teams, then I'll generally mix in these other tools that are better capacity built for it. So for me, you know, that is Teams in a nutshell. I love it. I hope that you have good luck using it and that your participants are just as thrilled at the content you're providing. Kyle, last words?
Yeah, I would just say ditto to that. And you're not going to recreate the exact environment or energy that you have in a physical space. However, if you, like you mentioned, if you do kind of master those tools and you are organized, you can make your workshops extremely engaging and actually get more participant engagement because people aren't necessarily afraid of being put on the spot like they would in the actual workshop setting.